Tonight's story is The Mitten, and it was adapted and illustrated by Jan Brett. Here's the title page and the dedication page. It says, for Sylvia Kyle, Ruth Ann Johnson, Rebecca Lim, and Tad Beagley. We have pictures in the margins in this story too, as well as just like we did last night. Here's a picture of the little boy, and he's looking out the window at the snow. And then over here, he has decided that he wants to go out and play in the snow. So he's got his hat in his hand, and he's headed out to play. So now here's the little boy's grandmother, and she has her wool on the spinning wheel, and she looks like she's getting ready to make something. And here's another picture of the grandmother, and she's picking out some wool. And you can see that it's the color of white. Once there was a boy named Nicky who wanted his new mittens made from wool as white as snow. At first, his grandmother Baba did not want to knit white mittens. If you drop one in the snow, she warned, you'll never find it. But Nicky wanted snow white mittens, and finally Baba made them. So here we just have pictures of snow. After she finished, she said, when you come home, first I will look to see if you are safe and sound. But then I will look to see if you still have your snow white mittens. So off Nicky went, and it wasn't long until one of his new mittens dropped in the snow and was left behind. So there's Nicky, and he's playing climbing the tree. And here's his mitten that has fallen to the ground. And you can see it really does blend in with the snow, just like Baba said it would. Now remember how I told you last night that the pictures on this side of the margin, and even on the other side as well, the left side over here, that is like a preview of what's going to happen on the next page. So this animal is a mole, and something's going to happen with that mole on the next page. A mole, tired from tunneling along, discovered the mitten and burrowed inside. It was cozy and warm, just the right size, so he decided to stay. So here's the little mole, and he finds the mitten, and he's going to head on in there and get nice and cozy and warm. On the next page, we're going to see this animal, and that's a snowshoe hare. A snowshoe rabbit came hopping by. He stopped for a moment to admire his winter coat. It was then that he saw the mitten, and he wiggled in, feet first. The mole didn't think there was enough room for both of them, but when he saw the rabbit's big kickers, he moved over. So you see right here, Nicky, he's playing, and you see this little animal right here. And we'll see him on this side too. So first let me show you this. Here's the little mole that's already in the mitten, and the rabbit is backing on in there so he can get warm too. So the animal that we saw on the other side over there, that's a hedgehog. And he's coming up next in the story. Next, a hedgehog came snuffling along. Having spent the day looking under wet leaves for things to eat, he decided to move into the mitten and warm himself. The mole and the rabbit were bumped and jostled, but not being ones to argue with someone covered with prickles, they made room. So there's the hedgehog trying to squeeze his way in there. So if you look over here at this picture of Nicky, Nicky's looking in the hole in the tree, but up here you can see an owl. And over here, you see where Nicky has kind of, I think he might have startled the owl, and the owl flew down from the tree. As soon as the hedgehog disappeared into the mitten, a big owl, attracted by the commotion, swooped down. When he decided to move in also, the mole, the rabbit, and the hedgehog grumbled. But when they saw the owl's glinty talons, they quickly let him in. And when they say glinty talons, they're talking about like his toenails, his claws. So they're looking like, good Lord, there is not enough room in here. But then they see those claws and they're like, yeah, come on in. So let's go back over here. On this side, you can see, here's Nicky, and he's still playing, and there's that one mitten that's under his belt in his jacket. He's making snowballs, and he's throwing them at this tree. And who is in that tree? That is a badger. Up through the snow appeared a badger. He eyed the mitten and began to climb in. The mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, and the owl were not pleased. There was no room left, but when they saw his diggers, they gave him the thumb. What they mean by when they say they gave him the thumb, they mean like a thumbs up. Like, yep, come on. So over here you see, whoops, I'll show you them real quick. And then over here you see Nicky, and he's still playing, and he's climbing over the fox's den. So the fox will be our next animal that's going to come try to get in the mitten. It started snowing, but the animals were snug in the mitten. A waft of warm steam rose in the air, and a fox trotting by stopped to investigate. Just the sight of the cozy mitten made him feel drowsy. The fox poked his muzzle in. When the mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, the owl, and the badger saw his shiny teeth, they gave the fox lots of room. So you see right here, here's Nicky, and he's sliding down the side of this little mountain of snow, it looks like. There's a bear under there. So here comes the bear. A great bear lumbered by. He spied the mitten all plumped up. Not being one to be left out in the cold, he began to nose his way in. The animals were packed in as tightly as could be. But what animal would argue with a bear? The mitten swelled and stretched. It was pulled and bulged to many times its size, but Baba's good knitting held fast. So here's Nicky, and he's still playing. He sat down to rest for a few minutes. And he sat on this log, and there's a little mouse under there. So next is going to come the little mouse. Along came a meadow mouse, no bigger than an acorn. She wiggled into the one space left and made herself comfortable on top of the great bear's nose. So here's all the animals in the mitten, and there's the little mouse. She climbed up on his nose. So now you see Nicky. He's standing here and he's looking down to get his mittens. And then you look and he realizes that he only has one mitten, and he's like, because he knows that Baba's going to be upset with him. So here's Nicky, and you can kind of see where he's headed back in the direction that he came from, and he's going to try to go back and find his mitten. The bear, tickled by the mouse's whiskers, gave an enormous sneeze. Ah, 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 ka-choo! The force of the sneeze shot the mitten up into the sky and scattered the animals in all directions. So you see, the bear sneezed, and everybody went flying. There's the mouse, there's the fox, there's the owl, there's the snowshoe rabbit, there's the hedgehog, there's the mole, and there is the badger. And of course, there's the big old bear. So here's Nicky again, and he's still on his way trying to find his mitten. So you see the animals have landed on the, on the ground. And here's here's Nicky. And he sees something. What is that? On his way home, Nicky saw a white shape in the distance. It was the lost Mitten silhouetted against the blue sky. There's the rest of the animals who have landed. And the animals are going back into their little places where they were before they were interrupted. As he ran to catch his snow-white Mitten, he saw Baba's face in the window. First, she looked to see if he was safe and sound. And then she saw that he still had his new mittens. And here's the rest of the animals going back to their homes. And you can look right here and you can see Baba, she's in the window. And she's looking because one mitten is the normal size and the other one is all stretched out. And she's looking like, I wonder how in the world that happened. And that's the end.